If someone from Riverside is listening, guys, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing, but you're messing up with the calendar. Probably also it's my fault because I plan. So what is it? Let me check this. Let me check if everything is doing good. And we can start. So let me check. I'm searching for the channel. Yes, it's okay. My videos. Live. Yes, it's live. Yeah, it's live. Yeah, it's live, but it's not showing the thumbnail. So let me change the thumbnail. No, 1 second. Let me change the thumbnail so more people can come, and we are going to be live in few seconds. I don't know what is going on with this. Now YouTube is now it's okay. Check this. Now it's okay. The only thing is that was not updated is the thumbnail. Yes, save. Yes, and finally, we are live. Hello, this is the Bitcoin Libertarian. Our guest today is Lawrence, better known in the trenches as Lando Rothbardian, a hardcore anarcho-capitalist, karate black belt, serial entrepreneur, and CEO of Shopinbit, the privacy-first concierge service that lets you buy almost anything with Bitcoin, Monero, and other sun money without selling your soul to the surveillance state. Lando has been in the Bitcoin and privacy game for years. He's the guy who'll happily roast grifters, build travel phones with Max Hillerbar, run about dirty communities, and still find time to sneak action movie reference into every conversation. Today, we will talk about privacy in a collapsing world, running a business that actually respects your rights, why Monero still matters, the death of fiat travel, and how to stay sovereign when governments are desperate to control every transaction. Lando, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. But I have to correct you on one thing. I'm not yet a black belt in karate, but I'm getting there. It's still a few years of training.
you know that the black belt is a white belt that never quits. So, which style of karate are you, black belt?
I'm
sorry, not black belt. Are you training?
I'm training too. Shito Ryo is my style. It's one of the 4 main styles of karate. So I would say it's more like chess than, Shotokan is the classic karate style that most people know, and that's like you are the tank and you just break everything. So
yes,
but
well, yeah. I'm a green belt in Enshin karate. So
okay, cool.
It's not a well-known it's a well-known karate style. It's developed by a family called Ninomiya, and the headquarters are in Denver, Colorado. So I'm a green belt. Next up is gonna be brown and then black. The thing is that I started karate because I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and in the dojo that I train in Hong Kong, the Sifu is like his dojo. He's black belt, I think, in 5 different disciplines, Jiu-Jitsu and 4 different karate styles, and he trains a lot. I wanted to go to train more, and I start doing karate as well. So
okay, nice, yeah. I think it's a good adding to your jiu-jitsu experience. So I think it's a good combination.
Enshin karate is a style of karate that has takedowns, and as they are evolving, and one of the sons of the Shanko Ninomiya, the master, is a MMA fighter. So in every upgrade that they do to the techniques, because it's a new style of karate, they add some jiu-jitsu things like arm bars and on the stuff. So for us that we train jiu-jitsu, it's really funny, and it's really good if you do a martial art like jiu-jitsu that is more on the ground, it's not so aerobic. It's good to train karate because you improve your flexibility and your aerobic game. So it's really good. And which belt are you?
I'm currently the second blue belt, and I'm having my exam for brown belt in the summer. So it's like a few months away. And my sensei, he's pretty strict now, extra strict, because I have to show the katas and the bunkai the correct way now, because I get more responsibility. And because we have also lots of teenagers and people who are new to karate. And he's always very emphasizing on the teaching aspect for everyone who gets into the higher belt. So it's still a few years until I get to the black belt, but
it's okay.
But it's great to hear that other people also fascinated about it, because I like karate a lot. Like, I'm not very sporty. Like, you can literally, if you have to pick someone to play football with, don't pick me. Like, I'm super bad with any sports that is ball based, right? But when it comes to martial arts, actually, that is one of my talents. So I'm happy to have found it.
I love martial arts. So, well, my friend, my business partner, and the other guy behind the Bitcoin Libertarian, that he's not often shown in the English channel, only on Wednesday when we do the Bitcoin Treasury Company report with our other Italian friend. He's a black belt in karate. He's a black belt in karate. And but yeah, I'm a huge fan. On different to you, I'm good at the ball games. I grew up playing. I'm Argentinian, so I grew up playing football. I played tennis, and then I started training martial arts and I start seeing a connection between martial arts and entrepreneurship, Bitcoin, and all this stuff. So I probably touch a little bit during our conversation. But the first question that I want to do to you is, how were you or a spiel, how you arrived to Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's been a while. So in 2011, I was already reading all the articles on Mises.org. And I'm not 100% sure where I saw it first, but it was either Stefan Molyneux talking about Bitcoin in his philosophy podcast. And then there was this one article on Mises.org where they again talked about the gold standard as the solution for money printing and stuff. And my problem back then was like, yeah, we already tried the gold standard. Like, it already kind of failed, right? So why try it again? And then someone wrote a comment under this article and said, hey, we tried this already. Maybe you should check out Bitcoin. And then there was the link to the Bitcoin white paper. And yeah, in 2011, I read the white paper and was like, oh shit, yeah, that is the solution. It's super simple. And from then on, I was mostly learning a lot of things and spending too much Bitcoin on expensive dinner dates, which are now expensive, of course. Back then it was like, I don't know, when I started, it was like €4 per Bitcoin, right? And like you don't check, right? But it's probably a couple of millions that I spent back then on stuff. So, but it was cool. I learned a few lessons for myself as well. And I'm happy that I was able to witness the early days of Bitcoin, because back then we were like the whole libertarians and NCAPs were the majority of the Bitcoin community. So it was very nice to see that we now also had our own currency. And yeah, that's kind of that got me started into Bitcoin in a very short summary here.
And you mentioned that you learn about Bitcoin in Mises.org. So I can assume that you were, previous to that, you were already into the libertarian ecosystem and in the ANCAP ecosystem. What was the thing that called you the attention the most when you discovered Bitcoin? Talking about your background in libertarianism and anarcho-capitalism.
I guess the biggest thing was the self-custody and non-censorable transactions. These are like the two biggest things. Like the price appreciation was an extra side effect, but I read that you do your own self-custody. No one can take your money. No one can freeze it. You can send it everywhere. And that was like my biggest selling point because, well, if you think about it technically from an NCAP perspective, the only actual lever, apart from putting you in jail, is hindering you from spending your money to get any kind of services from the state's perspective, right? So taking away this fundamental power of starving you, literally, was my biggest draw because it means, okay, it's like nuclear disarmament, right? We both now have nukes because I could just use Bitcoin and circumvent the whole way. It's not, I don't need to go on any demonstrations on the street. I don't need to fight people on the street. I can just, stop using fiat and go into all in Bitcoin. And yeah, that was like self-custody, non-freezable funds. That is my number one go-to thing. Yeah.
And from the libertarian point of view, what do you think that, for example, Rothbard would have thought about Bitcoin if he was alive right now?
I think he would have liked it a lot, even though he came from like he is a classic libertarian using gold and stuff, right? But I think when he would see what is technically possible to do with Bitcoin and also the whole trajectory that the Mises Institute went through from like 10 years ago, like from 2011 to now, it's a total different ball game. And Bitcoin and libertarianism, they were in tangent working together to spread the message of freedom way faster than they would have been able to do it if they were separate and not so connected together. Because I remember like in 2012 talking about Mises or Rothbard or libertarianism at all. It was like a super niche concept where only the hardcorest of the economists at universities might have heard of them, right? But right now it's like mainstream discussions, and especially for you in for your Argentinian roots, right? You have Millet who talks openly about Rothbard and Mises, and also I see it here in Europe as well. There is more knowledge about libertarianism and sometimes even anarcho-capitalism. But yeah, and that's like, I think he would love it because of this synergy between Bitcoin and the whole freedom movement. And it goes hand in hand. It makes sense, right? Because I've met lots of former socialists who came to Bitcoin and then suddenly realized, hey, okay, it's not only about that they cannot freeze my funds, but also that freedom actually works and it's good for the people, right? So I think Rothbard would have loved it. I don't know if I hope he would have liked that I chose his last name as my crypto name, to call it that way. Right, but yeah, I think he would be happy about Bitcoin in general and probably use it a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure for sure he would use a lot. I always say that I was orange pilled by Rothbard even before Bitcoin was created, because when I finally understood Bitcoin, I come from I studied economics, and I can say that at that time when I studied, of course, anarcho-capitalism was not even mentioned, but the libertarian ideas were taught only in few lessons of history of the economic thought, because for the professors, for Mises, Hayek, even though Hayek won the Nobel Prize, were like an abandoned, very marginal of crazy people inside the economic science.
Yeah.
But at that time, I started going into the rabbit hole of the libertarianism, and then I discovered Rothbard, because as I explained in another episode in Spanish with a guy who is a PhD in economy, and he's an anarcho-capitalist as well. I sympathize with the anarchist ideas since I was a teenager, because my grandfather, he was an anarchist, but an anarchist from the left side. So there were a couple of things that I liked from the anarchist movement, but there were others that I didn't like. And I went discover Rothbard, say, oh, this is perfect. This is what I really believe. And when I discover Bitcoin, I say, this is the missing piece of the puzzle for the Rothbard ideas to take part. And when I discover AI, even more. So that's amazing. And how do you feel from a libertarian perspective? Two things. First, regarding Milei. First, how Milei started to spread the word, and now libertarianism is mainstream all around the world. I think that not except in China, all around the world, because all the countries have their own Milei now. But on the other side, I don't know if you heard about that Milei promoted a shitcoin 1 year ago.
I heard about that.
How do you feel about that?
So I generally have a simple rule of thumb. If you're a politician, there's parasites, there are criminals, and there are politicians. Like I always assume the worst of any politician. Like I think Milei helped a lot in spreading the message, of course, but on the other hand, he's still a politician, right? So the central bank is still there. There's still lots of things to do in Argentina to make it better. And that he promoted a shitcoin, whether it was voluntarily or not, it's kind of in the playbook of a politician because it kind of helps him to get more funds. And I think my biggest takeaway from Rothbard and Mises in conjunction was that you don't have to believe any conspiracy theories because human action praxeology already explains why people do stuff, right? Because they want to achieve like any type of goal, right? And they use any means necessary, right? So if you're like a politician, for you it's okay to use force, indirect threats, and whatever, stealing from people or using shit coins to like get some extra funds for yourself, right? And on the other side, you have voluntary trade, right? So if you look at the history of the world, you always see that there are always these two factions. If you wanted to be more esoteric about it, you could say it's the light versus the dark side, but I would not go that far. But you always see that either the people chose to use voluntary means to work together, or they used violence. There's no middle ground. There's nothing great. It's as old as the Lord of the Rings, right? There's good, there's evil, and if you apply praxeology to any previous events, you always see, okay, yeah, it was just they used force to do X, right? It's a little bit but it helps to keep your thinking on the positive aspects of humanity, because we can see literally with all this government intervention, with this state power everywhere, you can still see that the free market, so humans, actually make cool stuff, right? If you just think about it, like 20 years ago, 2006, the most advanced phone was a Razr flip phone, and then suddenly the iPhone appeared, and now we have literal AI, right? We have AI, we have this insane processor technology where you need a specific length of light to bake the chips that are on the nanometer scale, right? And this all happened within the last 20 years, that we are on this insane scale, right? And that is this what I think is the most important aspect that we need to focus on. That yes, there will be politicians like Ron Paul, for example, is also like a, I guess, positive example of a politician, right? Always against war, always pro freedom, super libertarian, right? And the only one who is positively mentioned in the Epstein files. So shout out to Ron Paul for never taking money from Epstein, right? And that's why, like, it's annoying to see that Milei did the shitcoin thing and still hasn't abolished the central bank, but I didn't expect much, so it's for me a net positive to say. Yeah.
So you were not on this kind of Bitcoiners that when Milei was elected, they said Argentina elect a Bitcoin president. You didn't believe on that.
No.
We-
So because like I guess Bukele is probably more a Bitcoin president, but both talk to the IWF, right? So it's not that they say, "Oh no, you're ours. You can never enter the country again." More, I think probably if Gaddafi was alive today, he probably would not made the gold dinar, but just took Bitcoin or some form of that, right? So no, I don't think Milei is like a Bitcoin president, but I think it's better than most of the others.
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, I am a big Milei supporter. I follow Milei since he started appearing on the television in 2016 because he was telling all the things. I couldn't believe that in the television was the ideas that I support from the libertarian point of view, that I was even demonized on the university with my teachers when I was talking about these ideas. But then I feel really disappointed. I liked when he became a president because I agree 100% of what you say. Politicians are parasites, but sometimes we must fight the system from inside. Someone has to do the dirty job. And Milei preaches that. He said in an interview, I am destroying the state from inside. But when he did the Libra stuff, I feel super disappointed because I don't believe that he got some direct benefit for him, probably some support for his political party. I don't think that was something for him, but I say, dude, how come you post this crap? Because everyone knows that it's a crap. And but on the other side, you mentioned about the voluntary aspect of that. He just posted a tweet. So if you bought Libra, is under your own risk. And if you lost money with Libra, I'm so happy because you're a shitcoiner. And if you're a shitcoiner, you deserve to pay for this and start studying Bitcoin. But on the other side, of course, it doesn't have the same impact. A Milei post that if I post something related to Libra. So that's the point. And moving to the next topic that I wanted to talk is Shopinbit. Walk us through what Shopinbit actually does and why you decided to be the company that only accepts privacy respecting money.
Yeah, so a short summary would be that Shopinbit is a concierge service that allows you to buy any kind of legal products worldwide with your crypto directly. So we don't only accept Bitcoin, but we also accept Monero and some other coins. And for me, it was like, you know what I love when I go to like a brick and mortar store. I go in, right? I talk to the person, say, hey, I want to like get this new laptop. All right. And then he says, sure, that is 1,000 euros or whatever. I pay him and then I leave. And that's it. Like that's all right. But back in 2018, when I started my idea of Shopinbit, it was like every online store or service was like, please give us your email address, give us your postal code, give us your newsletter consent, give us here we want to do tracking XYZ, and you fill out forms. And it's super annoying, right? So I wanted to make it as easy as walking into a store. So back then in 2018, I started with like it was a regular online store. And over the years, I saw that my special skill was not just doing classic e-commerce, but helping with custom orders, right? So getting difficult to find things, and anything that is not always ordinary but a little bit extraordinary, and helping that to get to the people in the most privacy-centric way, because I don't know, I have this specific drive. I want to make sure that my customers stay as private as legally possible, of course. And like, for example, a few days ago, we had a request from a client who wanted to pimp out his car a little bit extra, right? He wanted to have some fancy rims and some cool tires, right? And he doesn't know that much about cars. He just said, I have no limit. Just give me whatever's cool and I'll decide what looks good, right? So we helped him with finding the perfect rims that he liked, that works best for his car, and also give him like recommendations because he lives in a very cold region, so he needs a different type of tire. So you cannot just go, okay, yeah, I like 22-inch rims. That doesn't make sense if you are in the winter region. You need smaller ones, like maximum of 19 inches, right? So this sounds very specific, but that's what our concierge service does. So we do not do any extra KYC. You just pay us and we ship it to an address that you provide to us. That can be your home address, that can be your office, that can also be like a post box, if that is available in your country, right? And that is like, I think, one of our biggest services that we offer, right? So anything you can imagine, from trees to rims, like, I mean, real full grown trees. We also ship them, like 50 of them, cherry trees, actually. Some guy in France wanted to have them for his garden and said, yeah, I bought this plot of land. I want to have the trees. Deliver me 50 trees, right? And it's all KYC free, because we just need to deliver something to the people. And if you, I don't know, like if you want to showcase the invoice for warranty claims or whatever, our invoice never says that you bought it with crypto, because that is a legal trick, but it's super cool, because in the EU you have to provide invoices in the local country's currency, right? So that's either euro, or in our case we're in Poland, so that's the Polish zloty, right? So our invoice only says, oh yeah, you paid up front, cool, and how much it cost, how much the taxes were, yada yada yada. So you have like these two extra upside from us, right? So you get the consultancy from us, you get KYC free shopping, and also you get an invoice that you can show anywhere and doesn't tell everyone, hey, you paid with Bitcoin. I know that. Tell me more about your stuff, right? So, and we also have two other services. Or do you have a question about the concierge, maybe because it's a
No, yes, I have the questions that how does it work? I understand the process, but how a person who wants to buy through Shopinbit, how does the process work from the first the client contacting you until the client receiving the product in his or her house?
Yeah, sure. So first they go to shopinbit.com. I personally recommend using our new web app. We launched that in November. So that's it's on a website. You don't need to download anything, but you do not even have to provide an email address, because with our web app it works differently. So you go into the web app and then it asks you, hey, which service do you want to use? Concierge, travel, or cars, right? And then you say, okay, concierge. And then there's a small form that asks you a few questions, like how much you want to spend, where do you live, like the country. Because for tax reasons, we of course need to know which country it is, and also calculate transport costs, etc. Right? So you type everything in the app, and then the app shows you a restore key that is like 6 words that you just save somewhere. And from any device, you can go back into this specific chat and talk to our human concierge agent. So it's not AI. We are real people, so sometimes it might take a little bit until you get an answer. So please be a little bit patient, but there's currently not a good way to offer full privacy with AI. So we're still doing everything manually, and I think our special experiences of our team actually help with. But to go back to the point, right? So you talk back and forth with our concierge agent until you receive an offer from us. And the offer includes all the costs, right? Our 10% fee. We have a flat fee for everything that we do. It's 10% of the whole purchase price. And then you type in your address where you want to have it shipped. And if you're a company, you can also provide a billing address. That's also not a problem. And then you pay the full amount in any crypto that you like. So it's Bitcoin, Monero, and we also have support for over 2,000 other coins. So if you also want to use USDT, for example, I know a lot of people in the Bitcoin space also use USDT a lot. It's not perfect, but well, it's better, I guess, than the straight up fiat, right? And yeah, and as soon as it's paid, our team gets to working. And usually it gets first transported to our warehouse in Krakow. So, and then we send you a message, hey, we received the items, it's shipped now. This is your tracking link. And then depending on where you, of course, are, to Hong Kong, it might take a little bit longer to arrive than it is to within Poland, of course. But you're informed all the way. And then as soon, we of course know when you will receive the item, then we'll ask you, hey, is everything okay? Are you happy? And if you're happy, then we're closing the ticket and that's it, right? So technically it's the same. You go to the store, you tell them what you want, you get what you want, and then that's it. And we delete all the chat history and the personal data from our servers 30 days after it is fulfilled. So when you have the item in hand, the 30 days start. So you can easily always talk to us. Okay, hey, I don't know, there is a bug with my laptop. I need to fix it. Then we still, of course, are available to help you with that. So that is our process in a nutshell. Yeah.
Excellent. And how do you manage because you said that you can get an invoice but you can say that I didn't pay with Bitcoin. How do you manage to do that?
It's by law. You have to provide an invoice, and the invoice has to be in euro or fiat. But there is no law that forces us to say that you paid it with currency XYZ. So we only have to say, hey, it was paid upfront and it's paid in full, because that is our freedom of contract, right? So freedom of contract in the legal sense means that I'm allowed to sell any items for whatever I want. If you say, hey, I have 20 pounds of Argentinian roast beef, and I say, hey, I accept that as payment, then by law, I'm only required to provide an exchange rate from Argentinian roast beef to euros. So I can calculate the taxes. So the tax man knows how much he gets. And that's why the invoice stays in fiat and can just say prepayment. We pay a lot of money to our lawyers, just so you know.
Well, before the episode now with you, I interviewed a lawyer, and I said that, of course, we Bitcoiners hate lawyers, hate accountants, hate the tax stuff, but we need them because we need to deal with a world that deals with all this stuff. So it is what it is.
Yeah, for me personally, I only hate the state, right? I only hate the government.
Yeah.
That's like the number one you need to hate, because they want to steal your money. Like, you have to imagine how easy it would be to run a business if you don't need like extra tax accountant, extra tax law, and all that stuff that drains a lot of your money, because you just need basic bookkeeping. You just need to know, okay, do I get in more money than is getting out, right? So that you stay on the positive side, right? And that's like the thing. So you like, I have made some great experiences with my lawyers, because sometimes they are super funny, right? Sometimes if they explain to you how the law works, and then you think, yeah, like for example, my biggest gripe is like KYC AML, right? Everyone says, yeah, it's against the criminals, yada yada yada, and all that stuff, and then you should spend some time with, like, for the audience, right? You should pay your lawyer and let them explain to you how KYC AML actually works. And sorry, my daughter just woke up. Just a second.
No problem.
Yeah, great. And like, you have to ask your lawyer, right? And ask them, hey, how KYC AML works. And when you hear it, you will think, oh my God, it's no wonder that HSBC, Deutsche Bank, and all the big banks are money laundering for the cartels and stuff. And it's not the average Joe who didn't report on some of his crypto transactions. No, it's the big boys that do that, and they use the law. So I guess understanding the law and using lawyers and accountants to your advantage is a great tool to have as a libertarian and NCAP in the entrepreneurial sphere. But the better jurisdiction
Yes.
always helps. Like,
Yeah, totally agree on that because again, we live in a world with rules and we cannot avoid them. Otherwise, we go to jail, especially with the tax stuff. Because it's, as everyone knows, the biggest criminals usually they go to jail not because of their crimes, because
yeah,
of they are tax evaders. So because they made some mistake with the taxes. So
exactly.
you can run a mafia cartel in New York, but if you miss one tax, you go to jail, no problem. And here, one of our viewers says that all banks are thieves. Yeah, we know that the governments are thieves. All the banks are thieves. In Lebanon, he's from Lebanon. Banks stole people's savings 5 years ago, leaving and claimed bankruptcy. No one trusts banks. And what is a money laundering scheme for politicians? Yeah, what happened in Lebanon, I recorded an episode with Tony from the Bitcoin Way that he was on a spiel on that way. He went to sleep one day, and at the other day, all his money was stolen from the banks. He has to start from zero. So, and when he started from zero, he said, okay, I will start from zero, but I won't trust anymore to these suckers. And he discovered Bitcoin on that way. And what are the biggest challenges of running a business that refuses to play the KYC AML game, especially in Europe? That I think that on surveillance, it's first China, then Europe.
Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge is that you need to keep up to date with what's legal and what not, right? So that's, as I mentioned already, we spend a lot of money on our lawyers. But that's like the second step. The first step, I think that everyone who thinks about doing a privacy preserving business is that they need to start from first principles, right? So what I already explained with the freedom of contract is like super important because it's such a basis of Western civilization and law that this is not something that can be changed easily, right? So to make my life harder, they would have to explicitly ban cryptocurrencies in general for purchasing goods, like they do in Russia, like they do in China, right? Like they do in probably some other countries as well that I don't know, right? And that is like one thing. And the other thing is that it's actually easier to provide more privacy in Europe because of the GDPR laws, right? So, or as my lawyer put it, like on our website, we have some embedded YouTube's links, right? And we have this privacy filter before it where it says, hey, you are clicking on a YouTube link. Are you sure? Because we're sending data there, right? And he says, like, you're like probably one of, I have never seen someone go that far in Poland because Poland is a little bit easy when it comes to being more privacy centric, right? But I'm literally, he told me that we're so overboard with our privacy stuff. And I can easily explain it to anyone who asks me from regulators and stuff. But we rarely get any questions from regulators because what we do is 100% legal and they have nothing to win by fighting against us because we pay all the taxes on time. They get the taxes, everyone is happy, and we are not doing any type of illegal stuff. So we're not even doing like prescription medicine or live animals or weapons. Like they're like these are our own guidelines, right? And we just say no, we're not doing it. We could sell them legally, but I don't want to be associated with that. And for me, it's important to be like that. Shopinbit is the the family-friendly way of just, doing good stuff with your Bitcoin, living the good life, right? And not, yeah, because we already had Silk Road. We have all the darknet markets. If you like that kind of stuff, go there. They are better than I am in that regard. But you should check out Shopinbit if you want just, have a good time, right? Buy yourself a new laptop, buy yourself travel all over the world, like hotels and flights, or buy yourself a car, right? And if you do it right, and if you, like me, I invested quite a lot of funds in all this legal preparation so that you can actually buy a car with us and register it and have no problems, because the government is actually the second step. The first enemy of just living freely is actually your bank account. Because if you're like a successful trader, for example, and you make lots of cash on, I don't know, Kraken or Binance or whatever, and then you withdraw that cash to your bank account. So I don't know how it is in Hong Kong. It's probably a little bit easier, but here in Europe, the chances are high that your bank account just gets closed because the compliance risk is too high to have you as a private client who deals with that type of money coming in from crypto exchanges, right? But with us, you can just, buy whatever you want to have the correct invoices, and then just live your life and still keep your regular bank account. I know we're not like, it's still not, we're still too far away from my dream, is that you don't need a middleman like me or Shopinbit at all. You can just go everywhere, spend your Bitcoin directly, and that's it, right? But we're not there yet. So for the time being, Shopinbit is your solution to not get your bank account closed or get into any troubles just because you want to live your life and you're not like a criminal, right? Just because you use Bitcoin, it doesn't mean that you're a criminal, and you should never accept that, even though mass media might want to tell you that.
Yeah, but for the banks, usually you need to constantly prove that you are not a criminal, even in
Yes.
Hong Kong. If you are if every year you must send a lot of documentation, your invoices, your contracts. If you have any simple change, you need to report, because you need to show them that you are not a criminal. But
Yeah.
the criminals, the real criminals, they go to the top floor of the bank, deal with the high level management. They eat together, they have champagne together, and they wash their money super easy on the bank. That's the ridiculous thing of the system that we live. And you recently shared payment stats showing that Monero is dominating again.
Yes.
What do you think that this is happening?
I think that is in part because of all the, as you mentioned, EU with its regulations all the time, and some people misunderstanding what the regulations are actually doing. But in general, Monero has the, I would say, directly to use privacy without any extra steps, right? It's just you have the Monero, you spend the Monero, you have the privacy, and you need to go all the way to have no privacy in Monero, right? And I think this ease of use makes sense for most of our clients. Like, we have long-term clients who have been Bitcoin maxis for years, right? So they're deep in the game, and even them, there are a few that use like something like Wasabi Wallet or coin joins in general, right? But some just say, hey, you know what? I'm just swapping to Monero before I spend at Shopinbit, and then they are on the safe side, because like, we can't check if you're using Monero. We can't see if your coins, where they came from, how much you have in your wallet. And also for us on the business side, I have to say Monero is actually super helpful, because there is 0% risk of tainted coins, right? So that is also a regulatory problem on our side as well, if people pay in like USDT or even sometimes Bitcoin, right? But of course, we have been very blessed and did not have any cases like that with tainted coins. And I hope that stays that way. But of course, it could happen if you're like trading on a DEX and got some tainted Bitcoin. That might happen. That's of course not very fortunate. But I think that is like the biggest the biggest reason, because the privacy is by default, and that makes it easy to use, especially in this buying of products scenario, right?
Yes, and you're big on Bitcoin travel phones and Graphene OS setups. Why should every high net worth Bitcoiner or every Bitcoiner have a dedicated travel device?
I think it's like your phone is kind of like your second heart, right? It has all the information about you, what you do, where you are going, and how you spend your day to day. And if I was a negative government type of person, I would love to get hands on your phone, right? And when you are traveling, you are always in a more vulnerable state because A, you probably don't know all your surroundings, and B, you might be in a security check at the airport, right? And um, getting to your phone is like the first step to getting into your whole life, right? And I think it's very important, especially if you see the situation in France that is currently spiraling out of control. Like I think Jameson Lobb recently posted that we have 2 or 3 wrench attacks per week in France, right? So the last thing you would want to have is a phone that exposes you as any type of crypto. Like I'm not only talking Bitcoin, I'm talking it doesn't matter. Even if you like degen shitcoining into, I don't know, Solana, Doji, Elon coin, I don't know, whatever they're called, right? It doesn't matter, right? The more important aspect is it's like you're walking around with like this, like in the old cartoons where they have this bag of money and has the dollar sign on it. You don't want to be catched with cash at hand, right? And that's the same for all crypto in general and your phone. So it makes sense to do that. And we had a webinar with Max Hillebrand about the Bitcoin travel phone, what to do, what not to do. And I think it's very important, and also kind of our duty as well to keep people informed about how to keep their privacy, because again we have the same problem that, like, the general privacy movement has the same problem as the ANCAP movement and as the Bitcoin movement. Everyone wants to put us into the conspiracy theorist criminal corner, that we're super niche and no, everything is safe and cool. No, everything is not safe. If you have 3 wrench attacks per week in France, you literally either get a black belt in karate or get a Glock. There's not much difference, right? And I think especially South America has a history with kidnappings and stuff as well. So I don't want to like gamble on that the government might be fast enough to dispatch a police force to help me. So I like to keep a low profile in general and have a phone that does not say, "Hey, please come here, take me," right? But and on the other end says, "I don't know, some business guy, whatever. Just keep going." Yeah, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yes, and also again, also because I of course, what happened in France was with criminals that is getting hard. I heard that was I think that in the first 2 months of the year we had almost the same kidnappings from last year. I heard in a podcast in Spanish, a Lunatic Coin podcast, and also you are also exposed to bigger criminals than the kidnappers that are the governments. So
That's true. That also helps. Like, I like
because
with the Graphene OS, it's like super because it's locked on the operating system level. I think. I'm sorry, I'm not so technical, so I'll just keep it brief. But so because most of the airports, they have this device where they put in your phone, and if it's still the stock Android or I think mostly also stock iPhone, they can just read all the data even if it's still locked. But it's not possible with the Graphene OS because it blocks it. So you just need to restart your phone just before you arrive at the security, and then they cannot read anything. I think that also works with iPhones if you do the restart, but I'm not 100% sure. So do your due diligence, I guess. Yeah, but
Excellent.
also with France, it's like that's why we also like I said, we already have we also have a travel service with Shopinbit. So we do the flights and the hotels, but we also do security consultation, like if you need a bodyguard, or we give you tips, like for example, if you want to get picked up from the airport, like we suggest, hey, pick a fake name, right? And then you meet with the pickup driver, and then you're like, Hernando Esteves, right? And then you just walk in, and then you just have to play the act that you're Hernando and not someone else, right? It's like simple things like these that keep people safe. Like if your privacy practices are from the 50s, they probably still work pretty well today. You just need to think about it, and that's what we also do, apart from organizing everything and doing cancellation handling and stuff like that. So yeah.
This is super good. And how do you think that the surveillance state is going to evolve in the next 5 years? And what tools actually still work to avoid this surveillance state?
Whew, that is that's a difficult question. I guess we kind of already see where which direction it will go, because technically we are getting only the worst part of person of interest. I don't know if you know this TV show from, I think it's 2013 or something, where this guy in New York built an AI machine that helps track terrorists and help ordinary people, right? We kind of are now in this timeline where this is a reality, right? So you have Anthropic and OpenAI openly talking about their government contracts with the US government. And before the AI came into play, it was just you against another human. But now you have you against an AI, and an AI that has no understanding of any type of moral compass, because it's a guessing machine. And if enough people yap at it that it's okay to take your shit by force, then there is nothing you can argue with, right? Because like government officials or policemen, you can always reason with them when you see them face to face, right? But if an AI marks you as a threat, there is no room for discussion, right? So I guess the two biggest things you can do is use devices that are more privacy helping, like the Graphene OS, like using Linux, and also, I guess, living the life mostly offline, right? The more you share on the internet, the easier it is to um, make a profile of you. So for me, of course, it's a little bit difficult because I'm the CEO of my company, right? If you don't know my face or know me a little bit, you're not going to come to Shopinbit, right? So for me, it's a little bit difficult space. But if you're just just living your life, having a family, and using Bitcoin as your way out of the fiat enslavement, then keeping a low profile is, I probably and will always be, the easiest solution for that. But on the other hand, you should always keep an eye on what is publicly known about what type of surveillance is available, because at one point you have to decide if the risk of living in an AI surveillance state still outweighs the benefits that you get from moving to a freer jurisdiction, right? Because, well, most of our jobs are now online, and I think if you're not like in a manufacturing job that is required for you to stay in a specific location, then there are a lot of good reason to just move somewhere else where you are freer. And I personally hope that things like Prospera or other free cities will pop up and allow us to live together with less surveillance and more, connections, right?
Yes. Agree on that. And why do you think that many Bitcoiners still treat privacy as an afterthought? Is it ignorance, laziness, or something worse?
I think convenience is the biggest contributor to not treating your privacy with the respect that it actually deserves, right? Because you make your full KYC on Kraken, then you make your full KYC for the crypto credit card from, I don't know, whatever company that offers them, right? And then you do full KYC with your bank, and then you do full KYC with your car, and then you do full KYC with whatever else service is happening. So you are getting accustomed to already have done the KYC, and then you might even use a service that uses the KYC database, so you don't have to type it in every time. And you see, it's pretty easy if you're too long in the game to just say, Anna, whatever, man, just I want to send the coins here. I don't care. I can just use some third party lightning provider that is not self custody. Coin joining, well, that's difficult, right? Okay, Monero, it's a little bit easier, but still, right? If you're using your Monero on fully KYC exchanges, then you can stop using Monero. It does not make a difference, right? And but yeah, it's always easier to go the government approved way in most cases. So I think convenience is more the thing. And also I think it's some people have a lot on their plate, right? They might have a family, they run a business, they work 2 jobs, whatever. And in the evening, maybe you just want to chill, talk about with your wife about stuff, and not do another 3-hour deep dive into what is the best privacy tool for XYZ, because you just exhausted, right? So I'm happy that people start with the first step of going into the Bitcoin rabbit hole and trying to claw their way out of the fiat slavery system, right? And if they are, and then find about also the privacy aspect, that's more than I can ask from everyone. So I'm just super happy that people are talking about privacy more in a general way.
Yes, and talking about our friend who is watching from Lebanon, his name is also Tony. I hope if you are Tony from the Bitcoin Way, I want to interview you again, because that YouTube channel was taken down, and he's a very hardcore Bitcoiner. It was an amazing talk with him, and I want to bring him in the channel again. And talking about Bitcoin business. What advice would you give to someone who wants to build a real business in the Bitcoin economy?
Okay. I think the most important aspect has nothing to do directly with Bitcoin, but more for business in general. Because I think I saw a lot of Bitcoin businesses come and go in the last, oh my God, it's almost 8 years. I forget how fast time flies sometimes. So what they forget is that even though we are a lot of Bitcoiners right now, not it's still a very small niche market, right? So the most important aspect for building your Bitcoin business is to test your idea, and I mean test it hard. Like there's lots of talk on Twitter or Instagram or whatever about, yeah, I would totally spend money on XYZ, right? And then nothing happens, right? You get 0 sales, right? So it's very important that you go to market as fast as possible and see what directions are. Are people actually buying from you, right? Can you solve a specific problem or needs with a minimum viable product, right? And then just see, okay, does someone actually give you the sats in hand? If your friends and family say, hey, yeah, that's a great idea, they send you kisses and hugs, right? That's great, but it's worth 0 if you want to run a business. You need to, as long as you can get one customer who is willing to pay voluntarily for your service, then you have something that you can pursue on. And if not, then you might have to change something. You need to do that fast. Like with Shopinbit, for example, when I started, for the first 3 months, I had 0 sales. No one, because, well, no one knew me. Like I was absolutely unknown. And as you know, sending Bitcoin is You send it out and it's gone, right? So they need to trust me, right? And then when I finally had the first customer, I knew that I was onto something. And then I just asked the customer, hey, why did you decide to do it? And he was like, yeah, because I like your idea. I saw you on, I don't know, Telegram chat group. I saw you in the interview here. And then you can start your business from there on. But you need to test super fast and ignore any likes, dislikes, upvotes, whatever. It's extra. It's nice. That's for your ego, right? You see, oh yeah, 20,000 likes on your post. Oh wow, great, right? But the most important aspect is, do you get paid? Yes or no? And if you do not get paid, you need to change something. And the second thing I would like to say is, if your business does not provide enough profit that you can cover all your expenses and live a good living standard, you have a very expensive hobby. It's not a business yet, so you need to work on that, right? So that would be like my two things that I would like to contribute.
Yes, totally agree. Well, and Tony say he's not the same Tony, but glad to getting whatever you see. Tony, write to our ex, the Bitcoin double underscore, and we can make it happen. And last question, talking about this, if you could force every Bitcoiner to read one Murray Rothbard book, what would it be?
It's easy. Anatomy of the State. It's the number one. If you understand your enemy, then you are one step further to not get bogged down by the negativity and all that happens around you, right? And you can actually focus on the things that you are good at, right? But if you do not understand why your enemy does things, you are just guessing. And guessing is not a solution. Yeah.
Yes. And to finish, two more questions. The first one is, how do you see the future of Bitcoin?
What I would love to see is less arguing about filters or not, but more on the practical side, that we tackle the problem of that people think Bitcoin is a ETF tool. Bitcoin is just for trading. Bitcoin is not something to be used daily. I think if we can overcome these, from my perspective, kind of silly arguments about whether filters or not might work, or whatever deep technical stuff that the bubble is talking about currently on Twitter, I hope that we get back to the basics, to the libertarian basics of 2011, which is, can you buy goods and services with Bitcoin? And if the answer is still no, we got a lot of things to do. So I hope we get back from the Michael Saylor crack pipe of it's never going down, Laura. It's back to, hey, you know what? I bought the Dulce de Leche around the corner with Bitcoin, and all my friends use Bitcoin, and I tip my barber in Bitcoin. I pay him in Bitcoin, and you know that you're out of this fiat slavery system. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't know if it will come true, but I think with channel like yours and what we do here, I think we're doing a good first step to get people back on board into the game. Yeah.
Yes, totally agree. And the last question is, if you have the chance to sit down with Satoshi Nakamoto, what would you ask or say to him, to her, or to them?
So I'm from the camp that thinks Hal Finney was Satoshi Nakamoto, because he's the only one so he's dead, right? So no one, and he knew that he would die, right? So that is, I think, the biggest motivator. Even if you look into history and fiction, people are motivated when there is no chance of negative consequences to oneself, right? And I think the only thing I would say is thank you, because this is one of the biggest developments that the human race has done in the last couple thousand years. and it's a total game changer. And I just want to say thank you, Hal or Satoshi Nakamoto. If you're still alive, Satoshi Nakamoto, hey, thanks, man. Stay hidden, enjoy the rest of your life, and just stay hidden, never come back. There is no reason to do it. You made it. You literally in the history books, and no one can erase that anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
So
and
that's what I would
excellent.
say. Yeah.
Excellent. And I have an extra question because it's
Sure.
something that I love because our president says a lot, and I also say a lot. And you've called bringing back the term guilty communism, socialist. Do you think the cultural overtone window on calling out statism has shifted, or are we still losing the language war? I think that we are winning, especially similar to coffees.
I think we are actually winning. Even in Europe, you see that there are more camps that are back going to name calling, dirty communist, dirty socialist, and stuff like that. Because you can see it here in Europe. You have broken streets, you have bad schools, bad hospitals, expensive prices for gasoline and everything, but you have nothing of the good side of communism, right? So you only get the worst things, right? There are not many good things about communism,
Yeah.
right, in general, but you know what I mean, right? So I think we're winning on that part, and that's why I made this post about make it acceptable again to call out communists as dirty communists, because they think they are in a kind of a safe zone. Sometimes I meet people like when I go to school and pick up my kids, right? And then someone says some socialist stuff like, yeah, we should tax the rich and yada, yada, yada. Like, bitch, just go to North Korea if you think that's so great, right? Why are we talking about here? North Korea,
Or
yes, go
go to
there, man.
Cuba.
Like, yeah, or go to Cuba, right? Like, how great can
That's
it
what
be, right?
The funny thing is that in Argentina and mostly in any part of the world, the so-called communist people that they are tax the rich and all this crap, they hate United States. When they go holiday, they go to United States. They are sown in Miami, buying in New York, and not in Cuba, not in North Korea. And even though they say, oh, China is the real example that communism works. And I would say, and I know China very closely, that China, the success of China is because they abandoned the communists. When they abandoned the communists in the 1979, they started to be successful. Of course, they keep the communism at political level. Of course, at political level, China is 100% communist. They are like a central party. They don't have elections, or they have elections with only one candidate. They are surveillance the people, of course. But on the economical side, this is crazy capitalism, the most savage capitalism and competitive capitalism since the kids are born. So that's the way that because if they continue with the Mao communism, now they will be all dead. So
Yes.
that's the thing. And I love calling dirty communism because, again, I remember when Milei started to go on television 9 years ago. Was so funny when he was talking about he got super mad and started calling out, "Fuck you, communists, dirty communists." So it's incredible. So Lando, anything else you want to add, and how people can contact you?
Yeah. So in general, I would say thank you all for doing the good fight and using Bitcoin and being interested in freedom and libertad, right? And please check out shopinbit.com. So SHOPINBIT, because I was under the shower when I made the name and was thinking about shopping in Bitcoin. That's too long. Shop in Bit, right? Keep it simple. And and if you need anything for your Bitcoin, or you just want to live the good life, then check out our service. If you want to hear me rant about dirty communism, karate, or the new Nintendo game Kirby Air Riders. I like it a lot. You can follow me on Twitter. That's at Rothbardian. I think you probably put it into the show notes as well. And of course, at Shopinbit, we're also on Twitter. And yeah, I think that's it. And again, thank you very much, everyone, for using Bitcoin. And please tell everyone to use their Bitcoin as well, because it's super important. And if you're not using Bitcoin, no one will. Yeah.
Excellent. Great words to finish the call. Again, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day and the best of luck with your project.
Thank you very much for you as well. Bye.
And thank you. Bye-bye. And thank you very much to everyone who is on the other side. If you like the episode, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media, because on doing so, you help us a lot to paint the world orange. Share this episode with the people you love. Share this episode with the people you hate, because we must give their orange pill to 8 billion people. Stay humble, stack sats, and remember, we are all Satoshi.